Welcome in everybody to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB Zach Brown, and joining with me, as always, is former 410 Sprint Car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. Texas definitely delivered a lot better than we expected in NASCAR in the Xfinity and the Cup Series. Truck Series I didn't catch. I heard it was a decent race, but it was Corey Heim that came away with the win. Big shocker there. He's the dominant one in the Truck Series. Now the Xfinity Series, the driver that was replacing Connor Zilic, the injured Connor Zilic, Kyle Larson, shocker, shocker, wins in
Yep.
Texas for the Xfinity Series. He had a near perfect week in Texas, got second in the high limit race on Saturday night, right after the Xfinity race, finished fourth in the Cup Series. He had the car to win. Cautions kind of screwed him up. Late restart. The restarts were absolutely crazy in both the Xfinity and in the Cup Series. Everybody was bottled up. It's a wide track, and it still wasn't enough for everybody to not to wreck. Uh, I won fantasy, so it was a good weekend for me for Texas. So better Texas than it has been before, and I think it had a lot to do with tons of cautions and the tire fall off.
Yeah, and this car just works good on a mile and a half. Just even Texas is the way, the way the racing's been bad. So, and cautions just breed caution. We saw that there at the end, and wasn't sure we were ever going to get the race to the end, but Joey Logano comes away with the win. Sort of one of those, wasn't even there, then all of a sudden at the end, here he comes, and everything fell his way, and the car was he was fast at the end. It was a good race. It was, I was happy to see that it was a good race at Texas.
And so much for my prediction that Ford wasn't going to be anywhere to be seen at Texas. They were very dominant overall. They
Mm.
scored, I think, the majority of the top 10. And Toyota had more issues than I expected. Denny Hamlin literally caught on fire. That car just exploded. I think there was a hole in the oil pan. It's the only thing I could think of where that much fire
Oh yeah, that's because
happening.
a rod went through that hole.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that thing was that, and you don't see that, you don't see it too often anymore with engine failures, especially with the Toyotas.
Well,
And
that was karma. Danny Hamlin comes out and puts the bull horns upside down in Texas. You don't do that in Texas.
yeah, yeah, that's true. And what a shame for Michael McDowell, who had a shot to win that race at the end. First of all, he didn't have the fastest car to beat Joey at the end, and the tires he had about 50 lap older left side tires. It just wasn't going to work out. But I mean, what an effort for that team to even be put in that position. Heartbreaker for Carson Hocevar, who had arguably one of the best cars, the best car he's probably ever had, and one of the best cars in the field. He definitely had a top five, if not at the very least a top 10. And the way the green flag cycles for pit stops happened, he got caught up in the back of it, and then he ended up in one of those that got caught in the restart wreck. Tons of restart wrecks in that race, way
Yeah,
more
it
than
was.
I.
Yeah, you don't expect that from the Cup drivers.
Well, I like in the Xfinity race. I'm like, okay, well, and I text you, I was like, dang, these guys kind of suck. But then it happened to the Cup Series. It's like, well, I don't know. Maybe it just has to do with the way Texas is laid out.
Well, it's got that one bump on the outside groove, sort of in the middle of the corner, and if you're
That's
not
yeah,
hitting
off
that
the exit,
straight,
off yeah, between 3 and 4. That's where a lot of issues were happening. The little rut that's between 3 and 4, and it caused a lot of crashes. A lot of cars just on their own spinning out. And I think it is necessary for some sort of repave on Texas still. There you have like 1.5 lines to work with. These cars are really exciting when you have that progressive banking. They have cars that can run up against the wall. You have ones that go on the bottom, in the middle, that just like Homestead, which we'll talk about here in a second. But that makes it way more exciting for these races. Again, it was a better race, and a lot more people were had a positive outlook on the race once
yeah,
everything concluded for the weekend. So Texas is getting better, and I think that's good for the sport. Like we said before, Texas is a necessary state to have racing. It needs to have more than just a racetrack there. It needs to be more track. Well, you got
oh
Coda,
yeah,
but like
Coda.
other ovals, I think need to be in Texas.
Yeah, I don't know if there actually is anything else down there. I mean, Be nice to see Indy cars on Nova. I don't think they could run the Texas Motor Speedway.
They have
I know they have, but they don't
not
put them
right
on
now.
those
The
mile and a
way
halves
it's the
anymore.
way it's laid out now, it's too rough for that for those
Yeah, they,
cars to
they don't
do
they
on.
don't put them on those tracks anymore. They're too fast for them. So, but Texas Motor Speedway got a nice dirt track right there in the whole deal. So it's a good spot. Like you said, I think it's a good part of the country that needs to have the racing. And I'm glad to see that it was a pretty good race, and hopefully the turnout for the next race uh, shows up real well, and it's another good race because we see Texas, we're thinking, Christ, this is probably going to be a dumbass race, but it was good. I'm happy it was a good race.
Yeah, and then we'll look forward to this week too, where they're heading to Kansas. But before we get into Kansas, let's talk about Homestead, which kind of foreshadowed there. It's coming back as the championship race starting in 2026, and we have been pleading for that to happen, and other tracks too to be worked in the rotation. I
Yeah,
think NASCAR's finally listening to a lot of people. Dale Jr.'s been a big advocate for it to go back to Homestead and actually rotate around to different tracks. He'd love to see it on Daytona as well. I think that was another one that had a bid for the championship race, but I think at the end of the day, I think it's smart to go back to Homestead. Miami's right outside of it. Great place to have big sports venues, brings in great racing. We saw
yep,
that this year, and it's a playoff race later on. Homestead is a terrific track. It'll be a great spot for the championship race. And like I said, I think it needs to be circulated between three tracks, and I think Vegas needs to be considered to be one of them too.
yeah, I'd agree with that, and it'd be cool to see it at Daytona. Super speedway racing, last race of the year, everything on the line. That could be kind of interesting.
It could also it could be a very big snooze fest when people are being too cautious,
Well, this is
and
true.
that's also the possibility you would have. That and I I don't know. I think the speedway race to end the regular season's fine, or having one of the cutoff races for the playoffs, that's fine. But to have the championship, I think that's too much of a wild card. And but you might see a battle for who gets last, who doesn't crash the most. And I think it's a great decision by NASCAR to go back to Homestead. So that's really cool to see. And I think a lot of people were really excited about that. They had a huge promo cut between Keselowski and Kyle Busch. It was kind of a Back to the Future little promo. If anybody's seen it, it's pretty neat. I think it's on NASCAR's YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. But well, we're going to Kansas. We're not in Kansas anymore. Yes, we are. And terrible joke. Um, Kansas last year put on the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history, 1/1000th of a second, and they literally had to do a photo finish. Even in the modern era of NASCAR, a photo finish had to determine the winner. So Kyle Larson got the win last year. Before they thought it was Chris Buescher that got the win, but when they actually looked at the picture and everything, because the timers didn't even really know. The timer
Yeah,
technically had Chris Buescher winning, but when they went back and they looked at the start finish line, the photo, it was crystal clear that Kyle Larson won by a quarter of an inch. About literally
yeah,
that much they won by. It was a great race. Kansas always puts on a good race. This is a more traditional oval half mile, well, mile and a half, and it's going to be a great crowd when there's nothing else to do in Kansas. So it's always puts on good races.
yeah. This is another one that look forward to. Like you said, close race last year, the whole deal. Yeah, it's going to be a huge crowd. Hopefully, I don't know what weather forecast is. Hope we get a nice day for the crowd there. Uh, this is one I always look forward to. Waiting for it to come on. Good race.
I don't know. Did last year have a delay that made it go into the nighttime because it ended under the lights? I'm wondering if it rained some because it starts at 3 o'clock and
Yeah.
that's 2 o'clock there.
Shoot, I don't remember what I did this morning, let alone last year watching the race.
I'm thinking it was
Very possible.
yeah.
We're
Um,
getting in the rainy season in the South here, so
and I said it last week. I was like, well, Ford's going to be irrelevant because they just really haven't done anything. Well, now they got some momentum going on with the Ford camp, and they've got it to where they're all running. pretty well. And that's
Chris Buescher did miss out, the win by an inch
yeah,
last year.
yeah,
So
and he had another good race. RFK had a solid running in Texas. So I mean, now everything's out the window. Anybody could win now.
yeah,
Everybody's starting to kind of get their groove. The Hendrick camp, it's really coming now. It's really Larson. Byron's kind of fading a little bit. When I mean he's fading, he's not winning every other race. Chase hasn't been too
no,
relevant lately. Bowman was running top 10. I don't think he finished top 10 in the Texas race. If he did, it was kind of a
I
quiet
don't
top
remember.
10.
Did he get it? I don't remember if he got into an issue or not, but he was okay. Chase was 15th to 20th
Yeah,
place
just
car pretty
nothing
much all
over the
day.
top with the Hendrick camp. Yeah, it just and now you saw Suarez and Chastain, they started getting a groove going now.
Yeah,
So it's hard to predict it every week now. It seems like well, first of all, it seems like you can make it through restarts, you'll be fine. But again, it's once proved the fastest car did not win the race, and that's been most of the year. The fastest car does not win the race, and I think that's a testament to the way it's being run by NASCAR. The stages definitely make that more interesting, and just the competition's just everybody's on an even playing field. I I now in like Xfinity, you just see Chevy's just dominating. Really, they're. I mean, when Larson races, he's probably going to win an Xfinity race. He just whips their ass. That's not even fair.
yeah,
He's just so much better than them. But Cup Series, I couldn't tell you which manufacturer could win. It could be any of them this weekend.
yeah,
This my fantasy's kind of like up in the air this week.
yeah. I got them all in mind just to.
Yeah, I kind of picked through them and it's kind of going out of left field right now. But let's get into it. Let's give our NASCAR fantasy lineups for Kansas this week. I'm still in last place. I did win last week, but not enough to jump any spots in the standings. I need another
At least we're
solid
catching
week.
mom a little bit, not by
No,
much, but.
no, it is what I can. Yeah, let's see if I can have another solid week. So my starting lineup for NASCAR fantasy this week, I'm going back to back races with picking him. Mile and a half tracks, I've got to pick him. So I've got Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and in my garage, just as a nice little safe, Bubba Wallace.
Bubba
And
goes good at Kansas.
yeah, yeah, and in the feature matchups, they have Bubba Wallace versus Alex Bowman. I think this is a good track for Bubba, and he could potentially be racing for being contention for the win at Kansas. I have Bubba Wallace over Alex Bowman. Ross Chastain versus Tyler Reddick. This is hard for me because Chastain runs pretty well at the mile and a half. But if I'm picking Bubba, I'm going to pick Tyler Reddick in this because I think those two Toyotas will hook up pretty well in Kansas. Joey Logano versus Chase Elliott. I do have Joey right now. Just Chase has not had a whole lot of momentum going on right now. And Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin. That's probably the toughest one to pick between the two, but I'm going with the experience here. I'm going Denny Hamlin on this one. Go ahead with your lineup for this week at Kansas.
Okay, mine didn't change a whole lot from last week. So, like you, I have Kyle Larson, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, and in my garage, I have Christopher Bell. So, my matchups I have Bubba Wallace over Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick over Ross Chastain, Joey Logano over Chase Elliott, and Christopher Bell over Denny Hamlin.
Well, one way or the other, somebody's going to make up ground. All right, the hot pick this week is Denny Hamlin. Kyle Larson's the other hot pick. It says avoid Tyler Reddick, but I think he's had more bad luck than anything. I think he will have a
Yeah, I
fast
don't
car.
I don't agree with that. He's
Avoid
really
Austin Cindric. That's historical Austin Cindric. He's had a really good year. He's been very consistent. So I wouldn't completely avoid him in your lineup. I don't want to pick him to win, but I wouldn't avoid him. He could potentially get a top 10, which might be a pretty decent.
Penske cars are fast.
And the sleeper is Ross Chastain. Again, it's another classic mile and a half track. He is pretty solid at those between that and Las Vegas. Um, expect Ross to be running up top 10 throughout the day. Let's give our race winning picks for Kansas. So the easy pick is to pick Larson back to back weeks and just hedge my bets right there. But I'm going with the driver that was literally catching on fire last week. Have a little bit more of a redemption race after the entire engine exploding. I've got Denny Hamlin winning at Kansas.
Okay, we're going to be a little different there. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney.
All right.
Car's been fast. Sooner or later, he's going to squeak that one in. And Mom is staying with Kyle Larson this week.
All right. Well, it'll
So,
be.
Kyle, you're in good shape. We didn't pick you.
Hey, well, at least he didn't crash when one of us picked him this last time. I probably jinxed him, costing him a win in the race, but um, I think it'll be I think it'll be another good race at Kansas. Looking forward to this one. Mother's Day, so hopefully it delivers a pretty solid race.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll have all the drivers' moms and families out there. They usually do the call to start the engines or something like that special. That's always nice to see.
Yep, yep, that'll be pretty cool. Usually they've had a Darlington traditionally on this race weekend, but I think Kansas is a good choice to have
Yeah,
as well. And at least they'll have a Father's Day weekend race this year too. So because when they have Father's Day weekend off, that's dumb. Sucks. There ain't
yeah,
nothing else
that's
to
the
do.
one they should have. You could say be like, ah, we're off Mother's Day. Be like, okay, I get that. At least they were off Easter this year because that was terrible last
Yes,
year trying to race Sunday night on
stay
Easter.
traditional. Stay traditional. Be off on Easter. I like that.
Yep.
Now, moving in real quick to the start off the Indianapolis month. IndyCar is heading to the Indy Grand Prix, which some people like it, some people don't. I'm more of a traditionalist. I like when they practice for a month, tune up for the entire month, get everybody pumped up for the 500. Now it's more of only a couple weeks. Usually it was like the Indy 500 month, and now it's just like Indy 500 a couple weeks. Uh, the Indy Grand Prix, they're running it mainly because when NASCAR took over and started doing that, they're like, let's try to make some more money doing that. Nobody goes to this race. It's going to be an empty racetrack because everybody's getting ready for the Indy 500. It'll be okay. It's not even the best road course even to race on. This past weekend, Alex Palou once again shows that he's the best road course slash street course racer in the series. Expect him to probably win at the Indy course, but don't expect him to win the Indy 500. I'm going to hold my picks for that. Still trying to figure out who I even want to pick for that one. It'll be completely different. There's nothing here that prepares any driver to get ready for the Indy
Uh,
500 except maybe getting some momentum going.
yeah, but these guys, they've been with their team so long, and all the top guys are all with their same teams. Penske cars are all going to be fast. Ganassi's cars are going to be fast. Andretti's cars, hit or miss. But it's going to come down between Ganassi versus Penske for the Indy 500, and you can probably say that for just about any race this year.
Don't count out the McLaren cars either. They always run pretty
Forgot
solid
about
in the Indy
McLarens. Yep,
500. Um,
I'm thinking Penske. I'm thinking Chevys only, and McLaren is as well.
Pato definitely wants to have some revenge when it comes to the Indianapolis
That
500s.
would be very,
Done.
judging by the crowd cheering for him last year, that would be a huge popular win.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people, there are a lot of McLaren fans, a lot more. Well, I mean, I think Larson had a lot to do with it,
Probably.
but there are a lot more McLaren fans than I expected there. But overall, and we'll talk about it when it gets close, when it's time to preview Indy. Nobody's really mad at anybody that wins the Indy 500. There's not anybody
No.
that gets booed.
Right.
There, I mean, everybody's already boozed up and ready for anybody to win. They don't really care. Um, but there's not really a person like let's say a Denny Hamlin or like an antagonist type driver that
Yeah, no,
everybody
no villains in that series.
yeah,
That's
not really. And I mean, everybody's definitely seeing what Kyle Larson will be able to do this year. He's not obviously racing in the Indy Grand Prix. It'd be pointless to race in that. Um, but yeah, Alex Palou, I think he's got 3 wins in a row now and they're all road courses. So, and the Penske cars were pretty solid though. McLaughlin, Willpower were really good in the last race at Barber. But let's just give a quick pick for the Indy uh, Grand Prix, and then we'll move on to the one closest to our hearts at home. So uh, let's give her a pick for the Indy Grand Prix. I'm gonna make it a little bit different. I want to keep with Penske. Penske at Indianapolis just seems like it's right. I'm going with your pick from last week. Had a solid race at Barber. I'm going Willpower.
Okay. I'm going to go a little different as well. This guy could win any given time, but not who you think. I'm going to go with Scott Dixon at
Oh, that's
Indy.
who I was thinking.
Okay.
He said he can win anytime. I'm like, that's Scott Dixon.
Yeah. I'm going to go. I think the Hondas are actually a little better on the road courses than the Chevys are for whatever reason.
I just think Pelot's just in just
Yeah, maybe
leaps
that's
and
what it
bounds
is.
above. It's but they're
But
gonna have to do
Larson
something.
spent
He's
in the
starting to
whoops.
run away with the championship here again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this week, and actually as we're recording this, the Outlaws are doing time trials at Lincoln Speedway. They are invading the PA Posse to get a little bit of revenge from last year because last year the Morgan Cup returned to the Posse with TJ Stutz, who was our special guest last year,
Yep.
about a year-ish ago. And now the Outlaws are coming back to get that back. We'll see. It was very unexpected that a Posse member took the Morgan Cup back just based on how,
Because I was talking shit that there wasn't any
yeah,
fast
just
teams
there's
left
just,
in Pennsylvania.
and it's just all about where you draw, where you time trial,
Yeah.
which
You hit everything just
which
right.
which heats you get in. You got to have a little bit of luck. If you get in a heat where there's really not anybody that's great, that puts you propels you to get into the dash. And if you start top four, top six, you've got a shot to win at
Yeah.
Williams Grove. Any further back, it's harder to do
Pretty tough.
more or less at Williams Grove. Um, this this means a lot. It means a lot more to the posse. It means a lot to the fans. It means a lot to Beer Hill. It means a lot to infield. Everybody that does has anything to do with Williams Grove. This means quite a lot to really start off their outlaw year. When then they'll have it again in July, and then in the National Open in the fall, and that's really it's really a big deal. It's probably one of the most prestigious ones around in Pennsylvania, I would think.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
the
And that's just
crazy,
and
yeah,
that's just because of the rivalry between the two.
yeah, and I think last year with the Posse getting a win, I think that might have sparked reignited some more of that rivalry. Outlaws are already pulling up to Lincoln. If you see on their social media, they are talking mad shit. So it's hilarious. So yeah, definitely funny to see that. But we'll give a pick for the Morgan Cup too. So the Morgan Cup actually gets crowned on Saturday. Friday's like their first race. Night one and then night two is the Morgan Cup.
Which
They're not racing on Friday.
Friday night is free to watch on Dirt Vision.
It's free to watch because it's going to be a washout.
I was looking at the weather. It looks okay.
It looks 84% chance last time I checked, but
Oh,
it could change. It could change. Uh, Williams Grove has had one race this year.
really?
They've canceled every other one.
That's unreal.
Just, I mean,
Now I'm
we
gonna
haven't
check
gone to
the
a
weather
race.
because I don't believe you.
You wouldn't have thought it rained then. It's absolutely insane.
We're down to 60% chance of rain showers on Friday.
Now it can rain all at once in the morning. Just like,
Saturday looks nice.
yeah, Saturday looks great. So they'll at least get one race. And today's beautiful weather up there,
Yeah,
so
it's
they're getting
nice
that
there.
race. The Gettysburg Clash, they're getting that underway right now. I'm going to say that I think the Outlaws get a win at Lincoln Speedway. They just kind of got a knack for Lincoln right now.
I think it's gonna
Um,
be Macri tonight.
could be. He won't be there for the
That's my
Morgan
if we're
Cup.
gonna do a pick, I'm gonna pick Macri for tonight.
I wasn't picking one for tonight. They're already racing, so I'm not even picking one. And that's not really Posse right now since he's technically a high limit driver, I guess, at the moment.
Yeah, he's from Dillsburg. He's posse.
Yeah, it's good enough.
When the
Uh,
Outlaws are in, he's posse.
and 69K, we back in action in the traditional blue car this week, and it looks like Darren Pittman for the weekend will be coming up.
I think. I'm not sure
It's
on
either
that.
Ryan Smith or Darren Pittman, so
Trying to see
either one has a good shot to win it.
Group A qualifying is done. David Gravel is the fastest in Group A.
I am shocked.
Surprisingly, Dylan Norris is second quick.
Oh wow.
Local racer.
So
Good to
hopefully we'll
see
see
that.
we'll get some results as this gets published and a Posse driver comes away with the win at the Gettysburg Clash at Lincoln. But to take the Morgan Cup, let's give our pick for it. And I kind of we got to see if Posse can kind of be relevant again. Can they get back-to-back years of getting the Morgan Cup? We shall see. The Outlaws, the standings are kind of staying tight. Gravel and Schuhart are still within 80 points. You can make that up for sure within a good amount
Yeah.
of consistent races. You just have to beat David Gravel, and you have to somehow have him have bad luck, and it just doesn't happen. But my pick to win the Morgan Cup, it is not a Posse driver, I'm sorry to say, but it is a Pennsylvania racer. I'm going with Logan Schuhart to win the Morgan Cup.
Okay. Well, I'm going to agree that is not going to be a posse car. Now, this one may be a little bit of a dark horse, if you want to call him that. 10-time World of Outlaw champion. He's in a Chevy now. Somehow he gets around Williams Grove. I'm going to go with Donnie Schatz.
Donnie Schatz got a runner-up spot at Eldora last week to David Gravel on a late.
Starting to
If
get
he can just
rolling.
if he could qualify,
I know.
I
I
mean,
don't
if
know
he
what
could
his deal is
start,
with that.
if he could just start before higher than 20th in the races. I mean, he puts on a hell of a show and it makes it great, but I mean, he just runs out of time. We'll see what he can do heading up to the Morgan Cup if he can claim another one, and we'll see what happens. Excited to see this one. It should be a lot of fun. So I think that's all we got this week. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully, the Posse will get some good wins. All right, well, we'll see you guys next week after a strong week of racing.
All right. Bye, everybody.